Hey, I'm Warren Sprouse. This is the Bible Forum. We do this every Sunday night, whether you like it or not, from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time. We are looking at life through a biblical lens. We watched a presidential debate several months ago between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. Well, now there is a group of people out there who have put together a replay. Two professors wanted to see what would happen if Hillary Clinton were a man and Donald Trump were a woman. So they cast actors reenacting the entire debate verbatim in a gender swapping version. And what happened surprised everybody, participants and observers together. Maria Guadalupe, an economics and political science professor, and Joe Salvatore, a theater professor at NYU, cast a female actress to play Trump, named her Brenda King, and a male actor to play Clinton, naming him Jonathan Gordon. The production is entitled Her Opponent. Now, they expected the audience to completely reject Trump's aggression and tendency to interrupt and attack when executed by a woman, perhaps proving their point that women are judged differently than men. Like that would be news. What they found was not only different, but was absolutely shocking. Prior to the show, the professors surveyed the audience about their impressions of the real-life Trump-Clinton debates, then polled them again after the staged matchup, immediately following the performance. And here's what happened. They said, "We heard a lot of, quote, 'Now I understand how this happened,' end of quote," meaning how Trump won the election. A lot of people got upset. There was one guy who was literally holding his head in his hands, and the person with him was rubbing his back. That was probably a woman. The theme? The simplicity of Trump's message became easier for people to hear when it was coming from a woman. Someone said that Jonathan Gordon, the male Hillary Clinton, was really punchable because of all the smiling. And a lot of people were just very surprised by the way it upended their expectations about what they thought they would feel or experience. There was someone who described Brenda King, the female Donald Trump, as his Jewish aunt who would take care of him, even though he might not like this particular aunt. Someone else described her as the middle school principal who you don't like, but you know is doing good things for you. In life, throughout the election, it was obvious Hillary Clinton wasn't very well liked. In fact, more people had an unfavorable opinion of her than the number of those who had a favorable opinion of her. But a lot of the hate was attributed to sexism. If people disliked Clinton, they were often painted as bigots. The gender swapping exercise peeled away all that cheap analysis and suggested maybe there was a legitimate reason to dislike this woman after all. The assumption had been made that Clinton would look more presidential as a man, and Trump's lack of respect for aggression toward his opponent would not be tolerated in a woman. They had to admit their predictions were way off. However, audience members found that the arguments from Trump's character sounded more convincing coming from a woman. One observer commented, "About halfway through watching this, it hit me. I see how he won." Clearly, this was an unusual experiment, marked by some surprising reactions in what they call a talkback session after the event. They all agreed that many of the arguments coming out of the Clinton character's mouth seemed less believable, and that the character came off as untrustworthy and fake. One left-leaning observer said, "I expected to feel validated in my beliefs, but I thought Gordon, Hillary character, was weak. I found myself expecting him as a man to attack more. All in all, the experiment challenged people's perception of gender, even if it didn't change anybody's opinion about the candidates. It did give people enough distance to reflect on their own deeply ingrained gender bias and to think about how they might have better understood the debates and the other perspective if they had not held such strong preferences or distaste for a specific candidate. The Trump character said, "Our society is working against type. Women are not perceived strong enough or unemotional enough to handle the rigors of high office or industry. That they have been or are successful in these roles leads us to question our traditional perceptions and values." For me, she said, I admire women. And I agree with her. I admire women who can succeed in what has always been a man's world. Something about seeing people get the credit they deserve. Why? Well, because the female of the species is required to be strong. Perhaps stronger than the male, although she's not given that kind of credit. You're a man? You want to have the babies? You want to not sleep the first 3 months after you have the baby, or 6? You want to put up with a largely lazy man who actually believes he's done a lion's share of the work in the relationship simply because he went to work that day and actually came home? Coming home and expecting everything to be done so he can relax and watch the news and maybe sleep in the chair after he's eaten the meal he didn't cook. Often not handling the money, a budget. Very often not handling the repairs around the house, hiring it out to repairmen, and leaving the wife to deal with those repairmen. And then having to put on a Thanksgiving dinner while you watch the ball game and complain that the children are too noisy or in the way. You get my drift? A charactered, powerful, competent woman is a thing of beauty. A screaming banshee? Not so much.